Tan corner. Does that mean we're allowed to quack?
Hey guys, so we're just going live now. I've got Kari here who's running for Hutt City Council, and I've got Phil here who we all recognise from his beautiful eye-gouging Portaloo incident back in the Wellington occupation. And we're here today just discussing some mainstream media hit pieces that have come out recently, specifically with regards to those who are running for council, local elections that are coming up very soon. So Kari was just mentioning that there's a duck up in the corner of the screen. I think that's the StreamYard logo. However, it shouldn't be there for viewers. It might just be there for you. So anyway, thank you so much for agreeing to come in and chat. So I have recently been told that, Kari, you're running for Hutt City Council. How has that... what has that involved for you recently? How long have you been working on this?
I was a last minute person. We went to a meeting in the Hutt for Brian Tamaki run, and he was talking about, look, people have to stand up and they have to actually do something. And if they feel like they have to, they should be standing up and doing something. So Bryce turned around to me and he said, well, you can do it. And I said, fine. And then the next day my nomination had to be in. That was, less than 12 hours. I had to get my nomination. And now I'm working with some other candidates who are also standing as independents, and we are pooling together for our collateral. So we're going to have signs or hoardings up, and we've got a pamphlet that we're running. We're going to be meeting people down at the markets and stuff like that, just to encourage them to know who we are and why we're standing and that sort of stuff. So in that way, it's been like, oh my God, I'm doing this.
Awesome. So it sounds like it was quite a last minute decision for you.
It was very last minute.
Yeah, and it sounds like you had to get that nomination in pretty quick. 12 hours, that's not a big window. Have you had experience in the past running for elections?
No.
So this is all new to you.
I've worked in local government, and I've actually worked in central government as well. Excuse me, I just need to adjust my chair slightly. It was just annoying me. So I've worked in both local and central government. And I've got project management skills. I've got facilitation skills. I just need to remember sometimes to shut up.
Well, now is not one of those times. Feel free to speak. No. So what really made you want to run for council? What was your motivating factor there?
I think it's always been of my belief that if you can do something and stand up for those who are not being heard, then it's important to stand up and make sure that their voice is also heard. I was recently asked by staff, and I'm still getting my answer together, on my running for Hutt City Council page. I said, if we don't listen to a small group of our constituents, then we're not doing our job. We've actually got to listen to everybody to come back and have a well-informed view of what our constituents want and how their needs can be met for discussion, and then we can help to drive a decision forward. If we cut people off, then that's a bigger problem.
Yeah, absolutely true. And if you were to succeed in getting onto the local council there in Hutt City, what would your first focus be, do you think, if you could name one or two?
Not panicking.
Not panicking.
Yeah.
Could you expand a bit more on that?
A lot of people who run first time don't get voted in. Okay, I know that, it's a fact. I'm willing to put myself out there. I have people who've come to me and said, great, you're running. People recognise me because we went to school together. I actually grew up in Hutt. I'm a Hutt local. In fact, I grew up in Nainai. So I've been around here most of my life. I spent a little bit of time over in Tararua in Whitby. But I've come back where home is after losing my partner. So it's an area that I'm happy with and I'm at home in, and I sort of know the people. I grew up here. It's where my heart still settles. So to be able to serve them in a way which is fair is what I want to do.
Wonderful.
And I guess it's about learning how to work with these people who may or may not agree with each other, and that's fine, because I believe disagreement allows you to hammer out the points to come to a better agreement.
Okay. Well, we've got Guy Nunns here to join us as well, so I'll just bring him in and we'll see how he's doing. Hi, Guy. How are you?
Hi, Kari. Good, thanks, sis. Hi, Phil.
That's good. Hey, we're live at the moment and we're just discussing how Kari up here is running for Hutt City Council down near the Wellington region there. Are you involved with any of the council elections this year, Guy?
I was going to enter, but time was a bit of a constraint for me, to be honest. And because I'm not living in the my normal residence, I wasn't sure which one I should end up sitting in. So neither happened in the end. Yeah.
So has everyone here, so Kari, Phil and Guy, have you all seen some of these articles that have come out from RNZ and stuff and all that regarding the people to watch out for, the conspiracists and the extremists, that they've allegedly identified 170 of those? What are your thoughts on this?
You go first, Phil.
Well, I read that article as soon as it came out, and it was disgusting to me. It's painting freedom movement people as extremists. You know, using the same language as Islamic extremists or you know, far right neo-Nazis about a bunch of freedom-minded people. It just makes no sense to me. They are definitely smearing people, and they're using that term extremist because they can use it loosely and never have to justify why they've used it. But extremism is certainly not what I find in the freedom movement from most of the people. I mean, I've met both of you two, Kari and Guy, and I don't consider you extremists in the least.
It's actually quite interesting. And by the way, hey guys who grew up where I did, it's great to see some other Nino people here. Yoo-hoo! I also went to Nino Primary as well as intermediate and college. So that was awesome. A few years ago now. But I'm of the same thing. You know, it's interesting that I got sent a Reddit site by one of these stuff people, and they said, "Oh, you're on this Reddit site." And I went to the Reddit site and it said I was anti-gov. And I'm like, but I'm running for council, which is about governance over our I'm trying to work it through my processes of actually, I don't think I am anti-gov. And then I've gone into it further, and somebody has decided that I'm not only anti-gov, I'm anti-masking, I'm anti-vaccine, I'm anti-mandate, and I'm anti-something else. And if I keep being anti-everything, one day they might figure out I'm actually pro-something, which is pro-breathing. I got really sick wearing masks. I got very dehydrated, very, very sick. I can't wear them. If you want to wear them, go for it. Fill your boots. The studies on bacteria, yep, they scared me and made it that I felt a lot safer without a mask. If you want the vaccine, fill your boots. You know, have as many as you want. I have multiple sclerosis. I inject myself 3 times a week. Join me. It's up to you whether or not you want to have these things. Body autonomy is actually really important. I chose not to be vaccinated because I'm already on enough drugs to fill a little drug compactor every week, and I'm not allowed to forget to take them or I live in pain.
It seems like a good enough reason to take them.
One of the hallmarks one of the hallmarks of a healthy democracy is participation. I mean,
Mhm.
even if you were to say that we were extremists, a healthy democracy will involve us as well, even if we're extremists, which of course we're not. But
Yeah.
the more participation there is in a democracy, the better, truthfully. And I think, I don't know about Kari and I don't know about Phil there, but for me, I have not been involved. I have not been vigilant. And I am beginning to regret that I have not been involved for some time now. And this is a wake up call for all of us, those of us who have been lax. You know, it's excusable because some of us are very, very busy leading busy lives and looking after lots of children. In my case, or having had done, I've got a bit of spare time now. So I'm more than happy to devote some of that spare time in the cause of democracy, in the cause of pursuing freedom for myself, for my loved ones, for my friends, and for everyone really. And
Mhm.
so you know, we don't want single party representation. And just so happened, I was looking at Fox News today, and Tucker Carlson's monologue today was about Joe Biden alienating, excoriating the whole of the Republican Party. And so there's only two parties over there, of course. So you get rid of one party, you've only got one single
One.
party left.
Yeah.
So that's not us, and we don't want that.
And in fact, local government is not about party politics, and people forget that. We've got people in the Hutt who are running as Labor candidates, which means that they need to toe the line as far as Labor's policies go. And that is
Mhm.
because those policies are top down. Let's fiddle with everything that the council should be governing. The three waters is a big part of that. We've also got them trying to do intensification of the areas we live in. And that means people will be living next to 6-story buildings. Their properties are going to be lower in value, and these things have the possibility of becoming slums. So we've got to do it in a way, if we need to intensify, let's do it in a way which is actually going to be working with the environments we live in, not against them, and saying,
I,
oh,
I'd speak to that point there, Kari, that you know, for a long time now, you are right. Council politics should not be about party politics, but there has been one party that's had a monopoly on it for some time now, and I think they're spewing because they don't like the idea of someone else stealing their thunder.
Yep.
And I don't think for a moment we're going to do that. I don't think we're big enough. I don't think we're strong enough yet. But this could be the genesis of that movement, because in order to fight this nonsense from this single source of truth, we actually need to mobilise, probably as a group, and come against them. I'm sick of that nonsense that they push. You know, that the whole Build Back Better slogan, which of course wasn't a New Zealand slogan, but's been adopted by Jacinda. I think she's thinking that she has to destroy everything first before she gets on with building back better.
yeah, well, that's how you build back better, is you actually destroy everything and then you've got something to build with. It's a problem because we've actually got communities out there who are now feeling totally disenfranchised. They're not being listened to. And you know what? I believe in listening to everybody. I mean, I've been trolling through my Facebook pages because they've asked me about a specific post. I haven't found it all the way through to June 2019. So I've asked them to tell me what post it is and on what date. That's how deep they will go to troll and get information on us.
Yeah,
Kari,
so
can I
looking at
ask?
these articles, yeah. What was that, Phil?
I was just going to ask, Kari, have you actually ever used Reddit in your life?
You don't want to know.
Anyway, guys, back to these
Am
articles.
I signed up to read it? No, I don't think so. I could be. I had an ex who was very much into Reddit, and I always thought he was going down a rabbit hole. Now he's accused me of being QAnon. I'm like, I don't even know what QAnon is.
So just getting back to the articles, on the 21st of August, and Kari, Guy, Phil, I'd really love to hear you guys' opinions on this, but an article on the 21st of August by RNZ was titled "Media Zero In on Candidates from the Fringes." It was an article that was put out after a white supremacist of some sort tried to get on his school board or something.
Yeah, broke down in Christchurch.
Yeah, and there was a quote in there where Stuff revealed anti-vax group VFF has been urging supporters to stand but not declare their affiliations. Kari, are you affiliated at all with VFF? And would you guys have any idea why?
I'm signed up to their mailing list because I actually like to know what's going on. And some of their information is really good. Some of it's not what I want to hear, but hey, we've got to listen to everything. I don't believe that they're actually doing a bad job of actually getting people other opinions and what's going on. I have a group here in the Hutt, which I go to when I can. Unfortunately, I can't always go because I actually am quite busy now. I've managed to find a job part-time, 4 days a week. So I'm not always able to go, but I get out there and I do my gardening and all of that. And they actually give me good information. They say, oh, somebody's doing a workshop. So I go to a workshop. I've learned so much about how I can use my property better, which is really awesome.
Oh, awesome.
That piece, that guy, I think he was previously or is still a white supremacist, but what does that have to do with anybody who's running for council? They're targeting the same brush of people who do have extreme opinions. And the guys were saying in the chat before, it's actually, they're tarring us with white extremist views, whereas I'm Māori. I'm actually quite proud of the fact that my mother is Māori. I'm from Ngāti Rōnui. I've always been part Māori, but I've always been a New Zealander. And believe it or not, I will always be a New Zealander. That's what's on my birth certificate. That's what I go into my passport is that I'm born here. I was born down the road in Wellington. I settle here, and that's who I am.
Oh, awesome. And also in that particular article, there was a quote there where it said Matthew Houghton, who they described as a right-leaning pundit, whatever a pundit is, he said major political parties might need to now think about a grand coalition to keep the fringe ones at bay. This sort of sounds like they're a little bit concerned here. What are your thoughts, Guy?
Well, Matthew Houghton's normally more reasoned in his opinion. So was that from him, or was that from someone commenting on something he had said? Anyhow, I've seen, funnily enough, because Matthew Houghton often featured on Radio New Zealand with Chris Trotter, Chris Trotsky, and anyhow, Chris Trotter. Often opined with views that I didn't agree with. But just recently, I've noticed he came to the defense of people like you and I, saying he's not comfortable with things like this hate speech legislation and so on and so forth. So he can see the danger in this narrowing and this winnowing, really, weeding out the weeds, us being the weeds, and just only having those wonderful people left, the Labour Party, to fight the cause,
Yeah, got you. So that was really interesting to me. I thought, do you guys feel like there might be a concern for the more mainstream parties? Do you think that they should be getting together in a grand coalition, or?
And for
Aren't they
central
already?
government, I think they should all be afraid, because they've actually got to start listening to people and realising that everybody is actually starting to get quite bored with the current narrative. What do you think, Phil?
Well, I was actually going to say, aren't they already? They've been acting very much like a single party in their voting. They're letting stuff through, the opposition's letting stuff through without actually engaging on the House floor and saying, look, you know, what's going on? You're pushing this legislation through. You've had 2 readings in a day. What the hell's going on? It does worry me when National and ACT don't stand up against Labor, but I'm not a National or ACT fan. I just think that they are the current, as we see them, opposition. Greens and the Māori Party have sort of allied with Labor on many issues. But when I see National and ACT not standing and stopping things going through, like they had in Parliament chambers just earlier on this week about the tax that's been put on the KiwiSavers. And I was thinking,
that was restricted rather quickly.
Yeah, when was the first reading? Why didn't National and ACT stand up then? Instead of waiting for it to pass and go, oh, this is terrible, you've pushed it through really quickly. Where was their voice before that? And that worries me.
The thing is with that one is that they actually hid it in the back of other legislation. So what they did is they actually
be reading it
in the back of it, so that yes, it was still read, but nobody was looking at what they were actually reading.
Yes, and that is absolutely terrible. You've got nearly 58 or so between ACT, National and the Māori Party. You've got 58 members there, and none of them, not a single one of them, saw it. That is terrible. That's saying that our parliament system is broken. People aren't reading these bills and they're letting them slide past. And we can't have that, especially at the pace that they're putting through these acts. This is the fastest that they've assigned acts to law ever, as far as I can remember.
They can still do that because we're still running under the COVID legislation, which has to be renewed every 90 days to stay in place. So as long as Labor keeps us under this legislation, they can do whatever they want as a single party who is running the nation, because they don't need anybody else to vote. It says in that legislation that they can just get together in a little group and do it in the back room.
And I'm curious about the fact where how they've identified 170 candidates who are of concern due to their previous or current extremist views, that they're going back on years worth of social media posts to find. Of those, with those 170 candidates, those 170 candidates only make up 5% of those people running for local elections. So if it's only 5% of the candidates that are a concern, it seems to be so much importance thrown at it in the media at the moment. There seems to be a really big thing about these 170 people. Why do you think that is when it's only a 5% margin of candidates?
Well, the real concern is, how did they come to that determination that these 170 people were extremists? Extremists what? What fringe? Are we talking right wing? Are we talking left wing? Are we talking authoritarians or libertarians? They haven't said. They've left it so open to interpretation that they've just, slammed this word extremist down, and it has no real meaning unless you say what sort of extremism you're talking about.
Yes, so I did note, I couldn't find anywhere in the articles that actually laid out those 170 candidates of concern. Do you guys know of any such list?
Reddit.
It's on Reddit.
That's on Reddit. That'd be about right.
I can honestly say I've never used Reddit before. So
The guy from Stuff sent me a link and said, you're on this list. So I went and had a look at it and I was like, so it's a pile of conspiracy theorists getting together news on a pile of people they think are conspiracy theorists. You don't know who the fucking conspiracy theorist is because I don't know.
Kari could confirm this, but there was a list that I saw in the Hutt area, and Daniel Ruitt was on that one as well, of course.
Yep.
That's the only one that I've seen. But I think the powers that be, the media, have already had to apologise for claiming that some people held views that didn't. I can't remember which area that was in. Can you remember that, Kari?
Carterton. Right.
Yeah. Well, I should know that because that's my stomping ground almost at the moment.
Well, I'll have to sort of get an eye in on that list because it sounds pretty interesting.
I'm off my computer.
Oh, yes, please. That would be awesome. Hey, so there was another article that RNZ did. So it was titled LGNZ Launches Voter Education Campaign as Conspiracists, Extremists Stand for Election. Now, I've heard that they've launched this education campaign regarding conspiracists and extremists, but I haven't seen, well, like, what is this campaign? Have you guys seen it? All I've seen is the word campaign. I haven't actually seen
it. Is it
LGNZ?
Who's there? Oh, Local Government New Zealand. The people who are taking money off councils and not actually working for councils so much at the moment. They're actually working on behalf of the government into councils.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a quote from the article says that the campaign's being launched today to help voters in local body elections identify conspiracy theorists and extremists.
Okay.
How on earth are they going to do that?
What I think they're going to do is they're going to say to people, go out and shake people's hands, go out and see the candidates, go out and speak to them, and you decide whether or not they're extremists. And if anybody wants, they've got my phone number. It's listed on the Hutt City Council running site. My phone number, my email address, anybody can give me a yell and find out whether or not I'm an extremist. I think I'm an extremist for going from a number 3 haircut to actually having long hair. But that was only because I was told I wasn't allowed to see a hairdresser, and now I can't be bothered getting it short again.
Fair enough. Now, also in these articles, they were addressing issues such as low voter turnout, and it sort of sounded like they were implying that extremists or what was the other word, conspiracists, were taking advantage of the fact that there's a low voter turnout in order to get their seats in the election. What do you guys think of that?
Well, I actually think that's a good thing. And I mean, not that we've been labelled or smeared conspiracists or extremists, but that we're getting people motivated to vote in their local bodies who didn't already vote, who haven't voted for years, and they're being encouraged because they're seeing freedom-minded people who want to make a change in local bodies out there and running. Because a lot of the local body elections are basically Labour and some independents who have very strong views about certain things. They're not there to actually promote the people's will. They're there to get their own way, or they're following the Labour line. And as Guy pointed out earlier, it's Labour that pushes local body. It's not really a national or an ACT thing, it's Labour.
Yeah.
Some Greens.
I think the more people we get out there voting, the better. We want to get in. I'm hopeful somebody will vote for me. I'll get at least one. I know because everybody told me they're going to vote for me. But what we need is people to get out there and understand what the candidates are standing for, why they're there, how they're going to be represented by all the candidates that they're talking to, and to choose who is best to represent their views into council. Council is a governing body of the assets in the area. We don't want to lose those assets or give them away. What we want to do is we want to make sure that they're actually utilised, that they're maintained, that they're actually viable for the future generations that are coming after us, really.
Yeah, I think you're allowed to vote for yourself, so you'll get at least one vote, I dare say, sister.
I was going to vote for somebody else. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you get 6. I don't know. I haven't figured it out. Every year I go through every 3 years and I go, okay, and I read all about the people in the pamphlet.
I think, can I just speak to the participation for yourself, Kari, that when I was up in Whangarei earlier this year, and Zeb was there too, I think, I went along to 2 or 3 public meetings with political figures.
Yeah.
And what we found was that the more of us that are there at that physical meeting, obviously the less spooked you'll be.
Yeah.
And the more support you've got there to, just raise the voice if anyone's having a go at you, it's quite an encouragement. So I certainly have said to people in where I'm living here in Greytown, if you're standing, I'm more than happy to come along to a meeting and support you. And I think that would be my encouragement to anybody listening and watching here today. Get along and support anyone who's standing up for the freedom issues. And it will give a lot of encouragement and confidence to those that are standing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Hey, there was just one other part of the article that I wanted to address, and it was the fact, so quote, Fact Aotearoa, you guys know who Fact Aotearoa are, the people who check everything or something?
Fact checkers, presumably. Yeah.
Stephen Judd is a spokesperson for Fact Aotearoa, and he said in the article that the difficulty was with many extremists, they're attempting to hide their views. Do you guys believe that, certain people in our freedom movement are, going for local body elections, but trying to hide some of their views? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if anybody looks at anything of mine, they'll know that I don't hide a hell of a lot. I found it interesting that they've picked up on the fact that I was at a protest, yet they haven't picked up on the fact that I have a chronic degenerative disease and I have to balance my life so that I can make things happen. And how somebody with a disability is able to do things to me is probably just as important as their points of view. My personal views will not affect how I vote for things at council because I'm representing other people there. I'm not sitting there with my own things at the forefront.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important, is that we've actually taken in other people's views about what they want to be heard.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we've got another guest to bring in, so we'll leave it there. Kari, Guy, and Phil, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we leave this here?
Yeah, Hutt people, vote for me.
Yay, vote for Kari.
Good luck, Kari.
Really good to chat with you, babe. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you later.
For inviting me,
God
Sam.
bless. Go well. Bye.
All right, catch you later, Phil. Thank you for joining us.
See you
later. Catch you later, Guy. Right, now we've got someone who I haven't met before. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name, but I believe they're running for local elections. So let's see. Again, if there's anybody in the comments here today who is running in the elections, if you want to request to join and have a chat with me, it would be really cool. The link to join the live stream is in the comments section. Kia ora, who am I talking with? Anyone there? Can you hear me? No, sounds like we've got a silent one on that end, so we'll get rid of that. But if anyone else is running in the elections, I'd be really keen to join. Oh, looks like this one is trying to join again. Maybe just add them in. Let's see. Are you there? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Who am I speaking with?
Kurtis.
Kia ora, Kurtis. So are you running in one of the elections in New Zealand?
No, I'm not.
Oh, would you like to weigh in your thoughts on what's been going on in the media at the moment?
I support Hannah and Calvin in what they're going through.
Oh, yes. So you've been, you've been following the counterspin thing that's been going on. They've been posting some good updates on their Telegram page. Have you been following those as well, have you? Whereabouts in New Zealand are you, Kurtis?
I watched Vinnie Eastwood on BitChute.
Oh, yes.
I'm in Wellington.
Yes. Wellington. Oh, awesome. Did you manage... Oh, cool. Did you make it to the recent protest down there at Parliament by the Freedom and Rights Coalition?
No, I wasn't at the Brian Tamaki one, but I was at the other one. The big
wicked.
one.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's awesome. We've also got Phil Barrett in the comments somewhere, who is running for council, and I'll just see if I can get him on board as well. One moment. I see your comment there, Phil. Can't see the link. I'll just attempt to send it to you through a private message. One moment. That's not going to work. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, Kurtis? What have you been doing with yourself? What do you do for yourself during the week?
Try to spread the word and try and go into supermarket and see how many people not wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah? Have you noticed any changes recently?
No, everyone's wearing one still here.
Oh, yeah. And what part of Wellington are you in?
I'm in Upper Hutt.
Oh, okay. So have you looked much into the elections that are going to be going on there soon, into your local council elections?
No, I haven't looked into it. I haven't been paying attention to that, actually.
Are you much of a voter? Have you voted much in the past?
I don't sort of believe in voting at all. I have never voted.
Okay. You've never voted in your life?
No.
And how old are you, can I ask?
Born in mid-70s.
Okay. That's awesome, mate. Well, thank you so much for all your support.
I saw your video. Okay, thank you.
Which one was that?
I was just saying I saw your video with your mask encounters with Eric Rush and all that.
Oh, yeah, that was a ball of fun. It was
Is that
so
all
good.
settled, is it?
Yeah. It's pretty much, I've still got stuff ongoing with the... Yeah, it has settled. It's all good. Okay. Just another one in my stride. I'm just going to put out a call for Phil Barrett to see if he would like to join us right now. Thanks so much for joining us, though, Kurtis. We'll chat again later.
Okay. You too.
Bye. Okay, just looking for Phil Barrett at the moment to see if he's keen to join us. One moment. Oh, it looks like he might have stepped away from his phone for a sec. That's all good. Now, we also... I'm not sure if Dan is in the comments somewhere. Dan Judkins from NZ United. If you're still keen to have a chat with us, I'd love to catch you as well. Ginny or anybody else. So the things that I've just been picking up on with this this media thing is it's quite confusing, actually. It is quite confusing because, there's it's quite vague, if that makes sense. Like, there's parts of information, but not all the information, and the information that is there, you sort of have to take with a bit of salt because you're not really sure. Oh, Phil, okay, I see your message there. I'm keen. Phil, I sent you a link to join the studio here through your Facebook messages. So if you click on that link, you should be able to join us, mate. Oh, and the other thing that I was looking at a lot was the announcement from Reignite Freedom about the Global Walkout that is upcoming. Now, a lot of people seem to believe that what's happening on the 4th or 5th of September. So it's announced for the 4th of September, 8 p.m. London time, which equals 8 a.m. on the 5th of September New Zealand time. And as usual for these global things, New Zealand is going to be one of the first to set the benchmark for the rest of the world, I guess, and how they approach this global walkout. But so from what I'm told, this global walkout, this 4th of September thing is just going to be an announcement. It's not actually an event where you have to be there on a specific day and time, but they will be putting out an announcement 8 a.m. New Zealand time on the 5th of September, and I look forward to seeing what that might be. Right, now I've got Phil here and I've got Cain. Let's see what these guys are up to. Hey guys! All right,
yeah,
so now Phil, you're running for council, aren't you?
That's right, council down here in the Balclutha district.
Oh, Balclutha, awesome.
Yeah, right down the bottom of the South Island. G'day, Cain.
Great. And
hey,
Cain is from Tararua Freedom family. He's in Pahiatua, and Cain has been an awesome advocate for the freedom movement, which has been really great. So, Phil, can you tell us a bit about your journey towards politics or towards these local elections? Were you always planning on standing, or did something shift? I mean, have you done this before?
To be honest, I wasn't going to stand at all. I was a bit more in the background, and I was quite keen just to get awareness out and to let people make a choice of people that were standing. But I felt there became a lack of choice for people to make a decision on people that were standing for change, and that's what I'm standing for. There's a heap of people out there, obviously, that are just going to go along with what's going on, and that doesn't give people any choice to make any difference. It'll just be the same. So I chucked my head in the ring because we've run out of options, basically. So that's why I'm doing that.
So these articles refer to a good 170 odd candidates, which make up just 5% of the candidates that are up for elections. But they've identified over 170 people who they believe are extremists or conspiracists. Would you consider yourself to be described as that?
Oh, I haven't been as yet. I mean, as long as you're speaking out against the government, you're considered something in this election. And they're trying to band people together with that narrative. So, no, I don't think I'm an extremist at all. I just normally tell it how it is. That's how I roll. If something needs to be said, it'll be said. That doesn't make me an extremist. It makes me real, as far as I can see. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think people should, if they want the vaccine, take the vaccine. I don't believe in mandates. I think all the mandates are doing is punishing people for non-compliance. I think they've served their purpose if there was one. I think they could all go now and we could move on. If that makes me a conspiracy theorist, well, then I don't understand what that meaning really is. I am concerned, however, that the LGNZ have taken it upon themselves to run this campaign against candidates, because it's not actually their job to do that. It's the Electoral Commission should be running any voter-led information, because that's their job. That's their ministerial portfolio. So there's a lot of, it's almost a smear campaign as far as I can see. It's not really it's basically just a smear campaign the way I see it. So who knows from here? I mean, there's big moves. I know that in the small group that we've got down here, there's a guy that's wrote some emails and stuff away to our MPs and that, and he's got the ministers now looking into the actual legitimacy of doing this, whether they've actually even got a mandate to do it or whether they should be pulled back on it. So that's in the workings. So there's people actually alarmed about what is happening, if that's any help to anyone that's out there getting hammered.
So another article that came out today from Stuff, it was titled "Sorting Informed Local Body Candidates from the Disinformed," and that sort of grabbed my attention. Have you guys seen that article?
No, I can't say I've seen that one today yet, but I know how it sounds.
Yeah. So I'll just read out a couple of quotes from this article. So one of them is, misinformation groups have been encouraging members to stand for local bodies while hiding their affiliation. So there's a lot of articles that seem to mention that people are affiliated with VFF in particular, but are being told not to talk about their connections with VFF. And I'm not sure why they're targeting VFF in particular, but there seems to be something about, you know, oh, caught you, you're with VFF. I'm not really understanding what the big deal is. Do you guys have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I know a wee bit with that, because VFF, well, originally VFF was Voices for Freedom, and they were anti-mandate. I don't ever think they were anti-vaccine either. What they tried to do was give people choice on taking the vaccine or not. And it's evolved. As they've come forward with more and more information on vaccine injuries and things like that, they've become targeted as conspiracy theorists. And that's where that stigma's come from. And now it's easier because the mainstream media has got such power in this country, and people watch the 6 o'clock news, and that's, you know, it's got to be true if it's on the news. Once that's labelled, you're actually in the group. So people, it's really a branding thing for the government, because they go VFF, it's a known group, it's got a huge amount of following, and they can just stamp that on you. That's my take on it anyway, because there's a lot of people would go to the VFF meetings that I wouldn't call extremists or anything. What they actually are is people looking for information because it's not out there. That would be my take on it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And Cain, what are your thoughts on these articles that have come out? Obviously, trying to, I can't even put into words what these articles are trying to do. What do you think they're trying to do? What's the motivation behind these articles?
What it says to me is they're genuinely afraid that people that have been downtrodden and stood on by the government and their policies and the way they've been acting might actually get a voice in a legal and proper sense. And I think they are genuinely afraid that many everyday, average, hardworking New Zealanders really have had enough, and they'll look towards these other options. I was more than a little pissed off when I heard Labour and National saying they would form a wartime coalition in opposition to, I mean, I do believe they were referring to Tamaki's party in particular, but however, they actively stated they would make a wartime coalition to make sure no other party could get in. That seems pretty undemocratic to me.
I wouldn't even know what that kind of thing would look like. What would that look like?
It would essentially be, because obviously Labour and National being the two major parties, they have the majority of votes. So if those two parties put up for each other, no other party's going to get in. Labour and National combine their votes and run a joint party, as it were, taking the worst from each side, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, well said. Agreed. Well done. And also, what are your guys' thoughts on, so they seem to be, in these articles, painting everyone in the freedom movement who is applying to run for council or whatever with the same tainted brush, with these constant words, and they're the same words every time. There's, you know, extremists, anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, you know, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, all these sort of things that they seem to be painting everybody. And I'm not denying there are some extremists in the movement. I believe there's extremists in every movement, but painting everyone that way is a completely different cup of tea. And the words just seem to flow with the media, and particularly the way that they use the exact same words every time. It's repetitive and it gets into the public's head, I believe. What do you guys think?
Well, I think they use it as a broad term to umbrella everybody under the same thing. So it doesn't matter if anyone has reasonable or decent ideas. They take the worst they can find and put every single person under that umbrella so that they're all thought of the same way.
Yeah, you're dead right. It's done as a branding campaign. Exactly what I was saying before. They use these buzzwords. They use these words that people are frightened of, I guess, on the TV, and they use them and they chuck them around so that people think, and they just lump everyone together. And there is, I would agree with you, Zeb, there are in this thing, you know, if you actually look at them, it doesn't worry me if, you know, people can ring me and ask me what my views are, and I'll tell them straight up what my views are. I've got no problem telling them. There are some people in there that I've seen that would be right at the end of the scale, I would say, that's acceptable because of their views. That's their choice. But at the end of the day, that's how the voting system works. I mean, that should be regulated by the votes they get. They're only going to get a certain amount of votes that people that think that way. So there's no need to go running a smear campaign against them. In a democratic society, everyone gets to choose their own will. And what Cain said about the the government's actually quite scared. They do not want people, free-thinking people, critical-thinking people. They don't want people that have got solutions and ideas that go against their narrative to stand in this election. And there's plenty of them, I can tell you. There's plenty of people that have just had enough and they want to actually make a difference. And that's why we're standing, because there was no option. Normally, when you think yourselves in an election, you'd just vote for someone that was doing the job. You'd look along the paper, you think, oh, he was doing a job, he's doing a good job, I'll vote for him. Well, you look along there at the moment and they're making a mess of it, a whole lot of them. So if we don't stand up, who's going to do it? That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, I couldn't help it.
Sorry, Phil, again, you're running for council in Balclutha, that's right?
Yeah.
So if you're successful with this, what would your first sort of, I don't know, your first thing to address, your primary focus, what would that sort of look like?
Well, the first thing I want to address is just that, getting that message out that we need to listen to the people that are paying the bills. The ratepayers are the ones that pay the bills. So we need to engage with them. At the moment, what's happening is the directives are coming down from Wellington through LGNZ, which is local government. They're getting sent to the mayor. The mayor's telling everyone what to do. We've actually bypassed a whole heap of democratic process where we're supposed to have a consultation. You're supposed to ask for ideas, and then you engage with the community to work out how you're going to do it. All that's been missed out. And all we're getting is some sort of, well, they're calling it a mandate, but I think it's just ridiculous. All we're getting is a rule or a law or something passed down from Wellington, and we're supposed to implement it. That's all got to stop. That's got to stop. And the only way it'll stop is enough people at the table go, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do it the way we used to do it, which is asking people. So that's my biggest goal, which will shake some people up. I know that, because they don't want that.
Oh, well, we're doing it for them too, aren't we?
That's right.
That's what it is. Yeah. So what is your campaign starting to look like, Phil? Have you got a plan for your stuff that you're doing? You getting what are those big billboards out and stuff? We're going to see a face everywhere?
Yeah. Well, I am. I'm doing a lot of driving around, but my campaign is more hands-on. I'm meeting people directly, face-to-face. I'm driving around with an old truck with no three waters and no Cadogan. That's our mayor. We're sick of him. And I've got a flag on it. It's old-time campaigning. Our mayor basically said at one of the Three Waters meetings that if you didn't go along with them, you're just making a racket in the background. So I'm making a racket in the background, and I'm chucking it all back in his face. I'm making a racket, and I'm trying to get as many people making a racket with me. So I'm just doing it that way.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease, hey?
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, campaigning, it's actually quite an expensive thing. Campaigning is, billboards and stuff, about $140 a throw. So you can put as many of them up and people can kick them in and burn them or whatever they do with them. So we're going to key places, talking to people, obviously. We've all got friends somewhere. That's why we're doing this. You wouldn't just go out not knowing anyone. So we've got obviously contacts, but the support through Facebook and that's been amazing. It's been really, really good. And to get that voice out of this here, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on here. It's wicked. It's excellent.
Oh, awesome, Phil. Now, I don't know you too well. I know we've chatted a couple of times, but we've never sort of sat down and had coffee or anything. What is your history with local elections? Have you stood before, or? No.
I've spent most of my time shaking my fist at the TV, telling, just moaning and yelling at the wind, really. But I've definitely been to council before and made submissions. I've argued about things, and it's just time. Like I say, I wasn't intending to do this, but the further I go down the ladder, I think it's the right thing to do. I'm getting a lot of support from people, just being real, just being the person that speaks the way that people speak. You've got farmers, young people trying to get way in their life, people that just want someone that talks their language. So it's working out pretty good. I don't know all the big words. I don't know all the fancy words. I'll learn all that. Or you might not need them when you think about it. If you just be real, you probably don't need all that stuff, do you?
Well, that's the thing.
I think that's what we're missing. We're missing enough people acting real and just saying things how it is. Fancy words are good and all, but telling it how it is worth a lot more in my book.
Oh, thanks, bud. Good on you. Yeah.
Oh, neat, you guys. And can I just, Penny, for your thoughts about the Global Walkout? Are you guys following that, or?
Yes, I've had some contact with Monica, who's over in Australia with the Reignite Freedom, and some others who are organising it. And what is the date, my love, that it comes out? Emma? What is the date for the start of the Global Walkout? I believe it's the 4th? The 5th at 8 a.m. for us. So they'll be starting sort of a step at a time kind of thing. I can't 100% say, but I think the first one will be something simple like pay with cash. Pull your cash out, use money again. And then the following week, it'll be pay with cash and something else, something small, something simple that everybody can do that doesn't cost them, doesn't take time out of their day, as a small pushback against what's going on in this world. And I think that's something people should get behind, especially if it's something you can do easily, something that really doesn't take time out of your day. For example, the cash thing, that changes me in no way at all. I pay for everything with cash. I always use cash, especially since the COVID thing has started. I refuse to use a card.
Yeah, fair enough though. And that's something simple that anyone can do. I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, I struggle with buying petrol with cash because all the cash places are more expensive than the likes of Allied and Waitomo and all of that. So it's a bit of a balancing act using cash.
And that's how they do it. If we make everything cheaper and more accessible without cash, you're not going to want to use cash. And then one day they'll go, oh, we'll get rid of it, eh?
Yeah.
Good idea. Oh, awesome. Hey, so Phil, are you having any upcoming events like meet the candidate type events?
Yeah, well, it's a wee bit one-sided down here. They're having meet the candidate events, but they've chose, well, the way the ad reads and the way I've talked to people, there's only going to be the mayor and the actual Balclutha ward people in that. Because there's been so many standing, I can't remember the actual numbers now. It's one of the biggest turnouts in the country for people that want change, because Clutha, if you don't know, Clutha District is actually one of the ones that have been mentioned with the Ombudsman report on checking out unfair practices and excluding public from meetings and all that. So they're under investigation as well. So, I mean, you can take what you like from that, but I would suspect that there's something else going on in the background, and that's why more people are upset with our council as well. So, I've lost my train of thought, but it's all right. We've got with the amount of the people that are there, we've got to have smaller ones. We're actually organising ones ourselves now with just.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, well, we're going to have to, because we can't. We're not getting the coverage of what we need to get. To get us through, if you know what I mean. I think there's now four people going for the mayor, which the last few years he got in uncontested. That tells a lot. That tells its own story, doesn't it? And then in the ward itself, there's four ward councillors needed in Balclutha themselves, I think, and there's something like 9 people going for that job. So it's I might have the numbers slightly wrong on that, but I mean there's a lot of people in the Clutha Valley ward that I'm in. There's one ward member needed, and there's 3 going for that. So that just gives you an idea of the numbers of the people that have actually had enough of what's going on. And of course, you've got, and this is true, I don't care who watches this and says, I'm biased or something. What's happened is there was 5 councillors actually stood down that said they weren't going to be re-elected. They didn't put their hands up for re-election, and it was directly to do with the 3 waters thing. Some of them were saying they were retiring and all that, but it was all to do with people giving them a hard time out in public. They couldn't go anywhere without getting a stick about what they were doing, mainly through lack of consultation. So there was a lot of people there. Now the council themselves have actually tried to put like-minded people in. Well, that's what they do, isn't it? And that's also another reason why there's people standing, because we've realised what's happened. We're not going to get change if we get the same. All we're going to do is get a different hat on the same person, sort of thing. So we're changing that. We're actually standing up for people that'll make change. So that's and we're not really getting the exposure. We haven't got a lot of stuff down here, to be honest. I mean, it's a big open place. There's only a little newspaper. It's all run by Allied Press, so we're sort of controlled, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, and that's what it's all about, control.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah.
That is the word for the day. Bang on.
Fun times. So when are the local council elections down there?
Postal elections open earlier than the main day, but I think it's early October, the actual election day itself is. I probably should know that, but I don't. I'm just busy on everything else.
I think it was like the 8th of October or something.
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, and I think the postal elections actually, or the postal thing ballot goes in. I think it might be a couple of weeks' time. There's quite a long tail on that, so there's yeah.
And
but we're
now,
just
I'm not a huge voter. I think I've voted once in my life previous to this year, but I'm definitely planning on voting. Would either of you guys, Cain, Phil, would you guys have some advice for those out there who have never taken the time, like myself, to really research candidates and vote?
It's worth doing. I'm in the same boat, Zeb. I've been politically ignorant for the better part of my life, and it wasn't until things have started to happen the way they have that I thought, well, I better bloody figure it out. I was actually asked to run for local council where I am, but I outright decided I did not have enough knowledge nor enough time to take the position seriously. Maybe next time, but 100% support everyone that's getting out there and doing it.
For sure. So, Cain, in your area, do you have some good people running for council there?
Yes, we do have some people in our local Tararua family actually that are running for council around here. I know some people in the Manawatu that are running for council. I won't say their names just in case they get targeted as well. But yeah, there's some good people that generally want to do good things. And hey, man, if they can get their foot in the door, all power to them.
And Phil, have you been approached by any mainstream media organisations for any comments about you running for the council?
Yeah, well, we've only got a little paper, a little community paper. And I did get approached that I made the comment, I got an email, and I made the comment that I wasn't happy about the way that they were portraying people and the way they were treating candidates, and I declined to put my input into it. And they wrote back and they said, oh, sorry, they felt that way. And people talked me into it. They said, well, any coverage is better than no coverage. So I actually did, and it's in the paper today. But that's really all we've had as far as when you put your submission in, it goes into the newspaper, the local newspaper. That's about it. The only coverage we've had down here would be bad coverage, not good coverage. That's apart from today. In fairness, the one in the ODT today was quite good. It did at least put things in as written. There was no editing or anything. But to go back to your point of the voting, in Balclutha last year, it was something like 30% of the voters actually turned out. That was all they got, which is pathetic. It's and people have got. Well, I don't know. It might be complacency. I don't know. They might have just had enough, throwing their hands in the air and thought, well, it won't make a difference. This year, it is really, really important that people get in. If you're 18, if you're a resident, if you can vote, get yourself enrolled. Make sure you're involved so you don't run out of time to do it, and make a decision on what these people are saying, because the people that are standing up need the support to make the change. We can't do a damn thing if we're not in there. There's obviously limited things we probably can do when we're in there. We're constricted by other things as well, but we certainly can't do anything if we're on the outside. The only way we can do it is with voter support. So we're really pushing. I am anyway, to get people to make sure that there's heaps of people out there that haven't never been enrolled. And Cain, your point, I mean, I've been talking to people that are in their 50s and 60s, never voted in a council election in their life. And they've said to me, we're voting this year, we're going to make sure. And that's how important it is to them, because they've had an absolute guts full. So it is important. Well, it is for us, and it will be throughout the country. So, that's that.
Yeah, I'd certainly encourage, the younger people, the people around my age, mid-20s to 30s, get in there, man. It's going to be you that has to deal with this stuff for the rest of your life, so you might as well get a head start, guys. Come on.
That's right.
To be honest, in the past, voting hasn't actually seemed that important. Well, definitely not as important as it is right now. Am I a bit ignorant there, or is there some truth to that?
You're bang on. You're really bang on. The stuff that they're pushing through now and the stuff that they want to continue with, the Three Waters legislation on its own, if they get that through as written, that's going to set up a precedent and a cornerstone for a whole lot more stuff that they can just ram through. There's some really sneaky legislation in the background. I've noticed. It's terrible. And it's, if you mention co-governance, you're a racist. That's why they've done this. They don't want people speaking up. Well, no, sorry, that's the way it is. They just say, stay away from that because you can't campaign on that because you're a racist. It's got nothing to do with race at all. It's the way that it's been done. Having like I'm running around all over the countryside, and other people that are trying to be elected we're running around tapping on doors, talking to people, trying to swing, get the vote, and then yet you get other people that can just because the government said they can be there, they can just slip 2 people in that have done nothing. They're not elected, they're appointed. So that in itself isn't democratic. That's the bit I'm not happy with. It's the democratic process that's been missed out. And that there will be implemented. I mean, it's already in the health system now. You've got appointed officials. Up in Tauranga, you've got things that people just got appointed because there wasn't enough people standing. All these things, that's not the way you want New Zealand. We're on a slippery slope if we let this sort of thing go. So you're dead right, Zeb. It's really important. And it is. Cain's right too, because it's really important for younger people. What are we going to leave our kids if we don't sort something now? We had a really good free country that our parents and grandparents fought for, and then we're letting it slip away. Are we going to be the generation that lets it all go? We've got to ask ourselves: is this it? This could be it. So, sorry, bit impassioned there.
No, don't apologise at all, my friend. Not at all. Oh wow. It's certainly
to be fair with
opening
you,
my
I don't know
eyes
how
up.
much I would have gotten off my butt if it wasn't for my son, mate, because I can handle my own problems. I don't really care. My boy, that's another story.
Kids are very motivating, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't have any other questions or points to discuss. Do you guys have anything you would like to chat about before we cut this off?
No, I'm pretty much good. I'm getting the eye from my son. I'd better go and assist with his dinner. But hey, thank you very much for having me, Zeb, and good to see you again, Phil.
Good on you, mate.
Anytime, Cain.
Cheers,
Have a good night, mate.
All right, guys. Take it easy,
Thanks,
fellas.
Right. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm the same
Nick.
too, Zeb. I thank you very much for the opportunity. Like this is marvelous. Getting the exposure out there like that, or just getting the voice out there. You know what I mean? So
it's good to hear your voice, mate, and to get to know you a little bit better and where you're coming from and what you're up to. So thank you so much for jumping on and having a chat with us today. Appreciate it.
Good on you, mate. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
mate. Have a good night. Catch you later.
Right. Cheers now. Bye.
Oh, well, thanks everyone for joining us today. We had a few good speakers on the chat tonight. If you didn't catch everything from the beginning, it'll be up ready to watch right from the start again very shortly. But yeah, that was a great chat about those articles that have been coming out of mainstream media lately. Just a quick update on me. I've been busy outside working on the bus this week. We've just got bus work that we've had to do to get ready for our COF next week. Exciting times. Always looking forward to COF time. Not really. And other than that, I've got a new lot of t-shirts in. So I didn't really market the last lot of t-shirts I got in, but this lot of t-shirts, if anyone is keen on a Zeb Jackson Live t-shirt, I have got some special ones coming out, and I will also have them in hoodie form as well. So black t-shirt or black hoodie, and not too pricey. So get in touch if you guys are keen on one of those, and I'll flick one out to you this week. Kia ora whānau, catch you next time. Ngā mihi nui, pō Mārie.